Good evening. We're in the countdown. Good evening. All right, that's Foxhole giving us audio. Excellent. YouTube gets audio. Let's check DLive. We're starting about a half minute late. Maybe not. Might cut that countdown a bit short. We're starting about a half minute. Yep. Matter of fact, let me fix that countdown. That'll work. Hello. Someone on Facebook and someone on YouTube. That's probably me, right? Good deal. All right, so the housework is done. 2 minutes left. Let's have a sip of Topo Chico. Topo. It's green. See what I'm saying? You can't see it. Green Topo. All right, what are we doing tonight? Tonight, hey Sloaney. Tonight we're doing something new. Central 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello. Doing something different tonight. It'll be interesting. Maybe. Let me get the notes up. About a minute left on the countdown. Glad I did some prep for this. Wow, there's like 7 pages of notes. Maybe more. Wow. This could go a while. We'll see. All right. Let's get the intro ready to go.
Welcome to the 9dNation.
בראשית ברא אלוהים את השמיים ואת הארץ.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Thousands of years later, it was Wednesday at 11 p.m. Central. Get your passport ready and be prepared to declare to the customs agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. You're now crossing into the nation with no denomination.
Hello, Steve Stanley on YouTube and TSR Man. We're going to be... Man, that's so funny. The irony. We're going to have to send you E pleb nista. All right, well, we'll... all right, we may change our plans a little bit. I was going to not broadcast to YouTube for more than a minute because they... well, we'll get into that here in a second, what they did to me. What they did. Oh, YouTube, what you did. This is the 9dNation. Let's see. I am your host, G. Ross. We're co-hosted on Fridays with Angular. This has been typically simulcast on Facebook, YouTube, DLive, and Foxhole. We're going to have to curtail YouTube. They gave the channel a warning. Why, you say? I will put in the chat what they said was objectionable content. And we're not going to broadcast as much on YouTube. But let me put in the chat here. Here's what they said. Yeah, if you can go to... I haven't figured out how to restream to Rumble. But TSR, man, Foxhole would be good. Yeah, I got the warning. It was something about vaccines or whatever. That's probably enough right there. So yeah, I gotta watch myself. Now tonight we're talking about the Bible, Genesis chapter 1. So I'm sure that won't get me kicked off of any community. They're not ready to make that move yet. They're wanting to, I'm sure. Central 1234 says, water is wet in the dew of the stew. Water is dry in the desert of the sun. OMG epistemology. Whiskey Blue says, hey, Central. And they're chatting amongst themselves. So, this is the first episode. We finished the Facebook run through. Right. Thank you. Well, what they did, Steve, on YouTube, he's saying, is they banned my last Friday video. They banned it. They were like, no, it's objectionable. So I put in the chat there so you can see it on YouTube and DLive. And I'll put it in the chat here. Anyway, so I was going to make a big tirade and not broadcast, but I think I can get away with a Bible study on YouTube. But Friday's show, it's not going to be able to be on YouTube. We're just going to start the top and then move to the... Anyway, so let's get to Season 2, Episode 1 of 9dNation. Genesis 1, Verse 1. I have no idea what this will be like. I did some prep a couple weeks ago. I don't even remember any of my notes, so let's see what happens. Let's make this extremely interactive if anybody wants. Debate me. Like, all walks, all creeds, all types, all thoughts. Bring it. Discord information is... Here, let's get the Discord link. Copy. I'm going to put it in the chat. Man, it's so hard to work the mouse. There's the Discord link. You know. All right. Season 1 was a look through 13 years of Facebook posts. It has nothing to do with Season 2. I'll probably stop calling these seasons now that I've established that. I just wanted the Wednesday night 11 o'clock slot to kind of be... So... Hebrew 1, why did I say read in? Man, I took a nap like I always do. All right, let's go to the close-up of the text. Main transition. Let's get to, what are you doing? Let's get to Genesis 1:1. Gen 1 NASB, let's say. All right. But let's read it. first in Hebrew. I'm not that good at this, but let me try. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim u'et haaretz. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. All right, let's dig into that. Linking. Oh, cool. You're going to... Well, you're going to chat. If you go to the Discord, you're on the show. Do you want the Foxhole link? Let me give you the Foxhole link. How can I do that? Here, for YouTube, here is... that's the chat. Steve Stanley. That's funny. Click on G. Ross. Okay. So, all right. I've practiced that one for a year, literally. Wait till I get to the next one. I won't be able to do that. So, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So, let's go back to that. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So let's look at Hebrews 11:3. Let me take you there real quick. Hebrews 11. I'll do NASB. Hebrews 11:3. By faith, we understand that the worlds were prepared by the word of God, so that what is seen was not made out of things which are visible. So, let me just jump into the ex nihilo debate, and I'm already just asking to be called a heretic. I teach, let's see, how do I say this? Well, let's just read it this. Ex nihilo, something from nothing. Why did I even... I struggle with that. I actually am not a big ex nihilo fan. But there's a good quote in here. Things that are visible do not owe their existence to anything visible. That's kind of how they rephrase that Hebrews 11:3. And I'm cool with that. That I'm totally cool with. Like, I agree with Hebrews 11:3 for sure. And I think that's a reasonable paraphrase of it. Things that are visible do not owe their existence to anything visible. But I still don't see how that proves ex nihilo. So now let's look into the words. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim vu'et haaretz. Bereshit comes from reshith. Let's look at that word. Copy. All right, so we're looking at reshith, the word for in the beginning. So from, chief. Is the music a little loud? I'm turning the music down one. Seems loud. So first, think first fruits maybe. Primary. So in the beginning, does that mean in the beginning of anything that's not God? Like, because obviously he exists before the beginning. Does it mean in the beginning of the part I'm going to tell you in the Bible? You know, like God's like, hey, here's the Bible. I'm going to start with Moses. He's going to write it down, these 5 books. And here's the beginning of that. What does it mean? It's the beginning, and there's no other descriptor. So it's got to be pretty much the beginning of beginnings. I'll give it that. But it's in the primary, in the chief, in the first. Fundamentally, right? In the beginning. Like in Genesis 49, it says, my might, the beginning of my strength, the source of my strength, or the first of my strength. You always bring your best lamb or best fruit of the season to God, the beginning fruits. First of your dough. Anyway, I'm ignoring the chat. Let me get back to the chat. Let's see if we got any more chats here. In the beginning before time. Yes, yes. Steve Stanley. I swap in master jobs. Hey, you know, it's what I do. All right, so the beginning, we've kind of talked about that. Let's go to Bereh. Bereshit Bereh. At the first, we could say, in the beginning. Bereh. At the beginning, Bereh. Let's look at Bereh. Comes from Bereh. Created. So it's got a cutting or fashioning kind of history to it, right? Choosing a shape out of a cloth, for example. Form, perhaps. In the beginning, God selected the proper possibility, restricted time to play out the way he wanted it to, bossed it around, created, but the root of the word is fashion, shape, create. They're thinking it's a loan word from these trades, cutting, shaping. So maybe like a potter shaping clay. So Bereshit Bereh, in the beginning, or primarily, or to start things off, God shapes. Well, we haven't said God yet, right? Bereshit Bereh Elohim. Does Bereshit Bereh flow poetically? I think it flows pretty poetically. So the Bible opens up with Bereshit Bereh. It's pretty nice, right? All right, so Elohim. We got to spend a second on Elohim. Bereshit Bereh Elohim. Copy link. I need to change my... You're the artist, Steve. Although I have a couple drawings I got to show you later. All right, Elohim. Elohim. So it's clearly a word for God, Eloah. It's a plural word. Now, a good Trinitarian such as myself will say, see, there you go. From the third word of the Bible, the Trinity is already, But we have to point out, let's look at Deuteronomy 6:4. Let's do that real quick. Deut 6:4. Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. Just kind of curious. What does it say? I don't think I looked this up a minute ago. Yahweh Elohinu. So, hear Israel, Yahweh, our Elohim, Yahweh is one. So, the Elohim of Elohims, Yahweh, is one. So we're not to think that there are multiple gods. But in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. So I'm going to say a hint of Trinitarianism. 3 persons, 1 God. The plural here might mean superlative, right? Like the top of the tops. I forgot where I picked that up. So Bereshit Bereh Elohim, in the beginning God. And then there's a little et. It's an untranslatable word. Let's show you the et. It's just some sort of a thing that does grammar. So I don't even know what it means. It's untranslatable. It says it right here. Untranslatable. So why should I even try? Bereshit Bereh Elohim et Hashemayim vu et haaretz. It's poetic again, right? Hashemayim vu et haaretz. It's kind of poetic. We'll get somewhere when we finish that sentence. We'll start breaking it down a little. So, Hashemayim. Let's look into that word. Did you know you're going to be doing word studies of the Bible today? Hashamayim. So that's the word for heaven or sky, it says. Let's see if I wrote any notes here. It's like air or up or above. It's kind of the gist of it. So in the beginning, God created that stuff. The up, the air, the above, the heaven. Vu'ed haaretz. Let's look at that word. Haaretz. Haaretz. Comes from eretz, earth or land. A feminine part of speech. And here we kind of get the sense of dirt. As you dig through the usage of the word, you see that it's really earth, right? Dry land, let the earth bring forth vegetation. Let's go a little bit later, see some other usage. In the earth, so you can be on the earth. A lot of occurrences. Let's look at some more occurrences. I kind of want to go a little later. Beast of the earth. Let's see. Let's go. I guess it's a very Genesis word. Bowed his face to the ground. The land of Canaan. Somewhere I picked up the idea of dirt. Let's go back. Up here. Earth. It means not like the planet, which is not a globe, by the way. It doesn't mean the planet. It means what you get when you fall and you land on, right? It's that. All right, let me take a quick peek at our lurker count. Just like to know. I gots to know, man. Dude. TSR man, Kalam cosmological argument. Yes. You're saying there can't always have been. And I'm not saying, I'm definitely not going to break the Kalam cosmological argument. I buy into that. I just don't know if this is an ex nihilo creation that's being described here. I don't know if this text proves ex nihilo. But Hebrews 11:3 helps to steer in that direction. The Kalam cosmological argument will establish that God created everything, right? All right. Next up, where are my notes? So, primarily, foundationally, in a first fruits kind of way, selected. Who selected? We'll say that in a second. So, foundationally selected, the most God, Elohim, the air and the dirt, the heavens and the earth, right? So, foundationally, the most God selected the way that air and dirt would be. That's kind of what I first drafted for that. We're going to come back and poke around at that, but let's go to verse 2. Vayha'aretz. Here, let me pull it up. I'm going to butcher this one way bad. I have not rehearsed this one. So let's get sentence 2. 1, 2. I'm going to completely... I'm going to try. Vehaaretz haita hato tohu vavohu v'choshuk alpnei tehom veruach Elohim mera hefet alpnei chamim. I won't try that again because I can't. But in English that would be, the earth was formless and desolate emptiness, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. You may have heard the earth was formless and void. That's another translation. Let's go back and see. Formless and empty. Formless and empty. It was a formless and desolate emptiness. All right, let me check the chats. Toot. Got a lot of Steve Stanley. Lost him. Check the... For those just rolling in, maybe coming from YouTube, not sure. We're just doing a little Bible study, maybe too strong of a word. Just letting the word wash over us, right? Just digging into the holy written word. So we're on verse 2. But if you just got here, we'll catch you up. No problem. So dirt, we already talked about. The next word, chaya, to fall out, to come to pass, to become, to be, to turn out, to be found to be. Like it turned out that, right? The earth turned out to be. It's very much that sense of the word. Let me prove my case. 1961. We're looking at Concordance 1961. You know, the dirt, the earth, falled out to be, came to be, right? Very passive. Like it turned out that the earth was. The earth was discovered to be. This is a really interesting, I find to be an interesting kind of. The next word is tohu va. So formless and void. Tohu va vohu. So the earth was tohu va vohu. It was this thing that's both formless and void. Let's take a peek at those two attributes. Formless and void. Tohu. Confusing. Empty. Job says they go up into nothing. Uselessness, right? Waste. It's a waste. It's a wilderness. So it's got a futility or a vanity or a confusing or a chaotic or a desolation to it. So in the beginning, foundationally, the most God of gods selected or chose the way they would be, the air and the dirt was vain, empty, chaotic. Let's look at the other word that the dirt was. He's not picking on the air, he's picking on the dirt. He's looking down at it. Emptiness. Not a lot going on here in this word. So, void. The null set, maybe. It's like a heavy darkness. Or it leads to, no. We'll go to the actual word for darkness. So, formless and void. Now let's take a look at darkness. The darkness here is an interesting word. It's like a hood over your eyes. It's obscured, like you can't see. Not so much for lack of light, but obscured, right? Or a veil over your eyes. Blocking the light, but blocking clarity. Voice in the midst of the darkness. The gate at dark. When it was dark. It's not complicated, but, you know, like here, yeah, nighttime, obscurity. When you bump your shin on the furniture type of time, you know, like because you just can't see what's there. There's a thickness, a sense of thickness to the darkness. I forgot where I got that, but I did pick that up. Yeah, darkness which may be felt in Exodus. Not all darknesses are felt, I'm saying, but in this case, this darkness could be felt. So the word for darkness here is capable of being expanded into that level. All right, so then we'll look at after tohu vavohu, and the darkness was upon the surface. Let's take a look at that word. And we'll break this sentence down in a minute as soon as we're done looking at the words. It's kind of a straightforward word. It's from Allah, not to be confused with Allah. But don't you know, like a lot of languages have this all, meaning kind of. A lot of the romantic languages. So it's not surprising to me to see that all means kind of over. Sometimes it can mean from in other languages, but that one fits, right? That one kind of makes sense. Darkness over, all, upon, above, or over. So darkness was over the dirt. All right. But not just the dirt. I'm sorry. I'm saying the dirt. It's over the water, the face of the water. I don't know why I'm saying the dirt. I got to stick with the text, man. I'm going to change the meaning. So darkness was over the face. So what has a face? The panah of the water. So it's on the face of the deep. So it doesn't mean just any old water. The ocean, like the deep ocean. It's not saying. So it's going to mention here in the next sentence the difference. There's going to be ocean and water as distinct different things, which caught my eye. So here for the ocean, think Psalm 78:15. Let's read Psalm 78:15. Psalm 78:15. Fine. We'll go to 15. Psalm 78 ESV. I switched to generate. 15. He split rocks in the wilderness and gave them drink abundantly as from the deep. That's, I think, the same word. Let's check that. Hebrew? No. Totally different word. Kitomowit. Why did I even put that down? Face of the deep. Where's deep? All right, let me go dig the link for deep. Copy link. Yeah, it is. Tehom. Yeah. So that's the same word as Psalm 78. So yeah. Psalm 78:15. Yeah. Okay. Same root. So it's deep sea and abyss. Central 1, 2, 3, 4 is back. We're just on the second verse, so you haven't missed much. Just digging in each little word, and we're going to put it all back together. So the next word is ruach. That's a word that sometimes people know. That's the breath, the wind, the spirit. So the ruach. And then we've already covered Elohim. So darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God is relaxing or rakafing. Let's look at that word. So the Spirit of God is doing something over the water. And the question is what? Let's see what the Spirit of God is doing over the water. The Spirit of God is relaxing over the water. So there's kind of a gentleness to it, like you're not like ground and pounding in the UFC. You're chillaxing. Right? You're very relaxed. So you're chilling out. You're in a good place. You're in a good vibe. All right. Let's keep going. Over the face of the water. Same word for face, but new word for water. So darkness is over the deep, but the Spirit of God is over the water. Darkness is over the deep, Spirit of God is over the water. Here the word for water, the second time you see water, or the second time you see, first time it's deep. So darkness is over the, so here it's over the waters. So here it's a Mayim. Flood loins, pool, water. So that caught my eye. I thought, so darkness is over the deep, and Spirit of God is over the waters. These are shallower waters, I'm saying, like not the deep. I'm not a super expert. It could mean both. This could be synonyms for each other. But we're digging through the word together, seeing what we see. All right, so let's go back to the notes. It is time to put it all back together. Dirt turned out chaotically unusable. Cloudy darkness is over the deep ocean. God's Spirit gently tended over the top of the shallow ocean, or the shallow one. My notes were wrong. So verse 1 and 2 put together. God shaped up air and fruitless dirt. Cloudy darkness is over the deep ocean, and God's Spirit is gently tending over water, possibly as distinct from deep ocean. So if you're in the deep ocean, you've got a befuddling darkness over it. But if it's some other water, like a creek or a river or a delta, then God's Spirit is gently tending to it. And dirt is so far fruitless. And over the dirt is heaven or atmosphere. So you've got the land and the sea, the deep sea, and wherever they kind of intersect is where God's Spirit is over. It's kind of the picture I've got in my head. Kind of like coastal lines. I'm not saying it's hard and fast. I'm saying it's gently hinted at to kind of steer our mind. So verse 3. Vayomer Elohim yehi or we yehi or. Let me get you that to look at though. Genesis 1:3. Let's read that again. Vayomer Elohim yehi or wehi or. And said God, let there be light, and there was light. So let's dig into that a little bit. How did this happen? So the first word that we haven't looked at there is to say. That's amar, to utter. So God utters. And then the next word is, so he says, let there be. And that's that same word we looked at earlier for the dirt ended up being, sort of turned out passively to be. So God says there should be light, essentially, right? God says, light should be, or light turns out to be. Well, he doesn't say light yet. He says, turns out to be light. Let's look at the word for light. It's mostly a daylight type of light. Did I look at utter for everybody? Let me look at utter. I think I skipped that. It's 669, I think. No, that's Ephraim. 559. 559. Oh, we already looked at that word. That's why I didn't do it again. Yeah. So let there be. Oh, no. We didn't look at that word. Yeah, this is the uttering. Speak. Answer. This is kind of conversational. There is some ordinating or designating in there. Indeed say. Did he actually say, or did he just think? No, he said. Would there be light? Let's look at light. That's 2:16. Let there be light. It's pretty much daylight. It's like the most obvious light you're ever going to experience in your life. You know, daylight, daytime light. Won't belabor that much. So let's put verse 1, 2, and 3 together and ponder that for a second. God shaped up air and dirt that's fruitless. Cloudy darkness is over the deep ocean. God's Spirit gently tends over the water, which may not be including the ocean. Not sure. God said, "Light be," and light was. So let's rephrase that. This is the first 3 sentences. God formed air, fruitless dirt. Deep ocean has cloudy darkness over it. God's Spirit gently tends the other waters. God declares light that then is. So there's an ocean stack, which has darkness over it, a land stack, which has air over it, and a coastline stack, or rivers, which has God tending over it, and then lights on by way of God speaking. Primarily, God made air over dirt. Dirt is useless, not always, but at first. Deep ocean has gloom over it. God's Spirit loves from above the water. Light spoken into existence. Let's read the NASB 1 through 4. Let's do that. NASB, where are you? Let's read 1 through 4. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was a formless and desolate emptiness, and darkness was over the surface of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. Let's dig into that a little bit. Central 1, 2, 3, 4 says maybe the upper waters. Yes. That has got to be a possibility. So he's going to talk about that in a minute, right? I like where your head's at. I think I only prepped up to like verse 6, so that might be for next week. Just reading some Discord chat from Mortifer. All right. Let's go back to, where did I put it? Yeah. Looks like a few people have trickled in. I bet you can figure out we're reading the Bible. Totally up for discussion, totally up for debate, chat, Discord, all good. Anything's good. We just read Genesis 1 through 4. But we haven't really looked at the words in Hebrew for sentence 4. So let's look at, I'll try to pronounce the Hebrew here for verse 4, which is God saw that the light was good, separated the light from the darkness. All right. Vayar Elohim et Haor kitov vayabdel Elohim bin Haor uven Hoshek. Probably the worst accent that there's ever been. So let's look at those words, though. Vayar comes from seeing. Let's look at that word. Ra, to see. So something that's seen is appearing. So there's a really weird thing about that verb. I see because it can be seen. Does that make sense? So here in ancient Hebrew, the fourth sentence of the Bible, the first time you see anything seeing, in this case it's God, it means both the act of seeing and something being seen. And if you flash forward 4,000 years, 5,000 years, 6,000 years, you get to quantum mechanics, which says the same thing. So quantum mechanics is just discovering the Bible. You know, one of the things about a photon is that it can't be emitted until it has a place in the distant future when it lands wherever it's going to land, right? That's a weird math artifact that quantum mechanics talk about. Just saying, it's built into the language of the Hebrew there. Just kind of noticed that just now. And then every other word until key we've already talked about, so let's go straight to that one. 3588. So, you know, God and the light and et. Let's look at key. Conjunction. It means for or that. So he saw, what did he see? Light was good, right? Simple word. It occupies the place of an accusative. So it's frequently after a verb of seeing. So if you're going to see something, you have to see key something. See that something. It's very common, according to some article I read. So what does he see? That Tob. He sees that Tob. Let's check out what Tob means. Beautiful. He sees that it's pleasant, agreeable. I would use the word attractive, right? That light is attractive. He sees that light, that thing is good. Uses the same word when it's describing the tree of the knowledge of attractive and evil, or good and evil. Now he's going to badal, the light from the dark. So the word badal is to make distinct, to part, to select. It's cutting, more cutting than even the seamstress word we looked in verse 1. Bereshit berei Elohim et hashamayim. That's in the beginning God created, like the way a seamstress would make a dress. But here it's, like cutting, a block of ice into ice cubes or something like that. Setting apart, ordinating, keeping them apart. And then this really drives it home. The next word is bayin. Puts a space in between. So this really, it's like the spots between egg crates, between eggs in an egg crate, right? Or like this area right here. See how it says forehead? So it's not just that the two can be touching, they're actually separated, which is weird, right? Night and day. Do we experience them that way? I don't know that we do. But there's a hard line between them. There's an interval. So you have night, then you have another thing that's totally distinct, which is day. Light and day. Night and light. We'll put the sentence together here in a second. Checking my notes. Somehow I picked up that it's relationshipy, like the space between parties of a contract or deal. I don't know if I got that from this page. Where did I get that? Like here, between you and the woman. So there's a thing dividing you. Let's go down here. Anyway. So the rest of the sentence, we've already talked about the words for it. So verse 4. See God light as good, divided God between darkness. So notice he says between. So he says, divided God, ben haor, ben haor, uben haosik. So there's a dividing activity. And here comes the divider, right? Light, chop, that's a thing. Light, chop, there. Darkness, chop, that thing too, right? So it's a well-delineated light and a well-delineated darkness. It's not just a divider between them. It's between the light and between the darkness. So cut. So just kind of digging into the word bin. Like there's going to be parties to the contract. Here's a party, the light. Here's a party, the darkness. Maybe that's a good way to put it. All right. So God confirmed the light as pleasing the eyes, and he separated up the light and the darkness. What's it like between the time light is created and when it's separated from the darkness? Is that a ponderable question? Does that question even make any sense? I wrote it down. Kind of curious. Was there time between God said, let there be light, and God divided the light and God divided the darkness? Was there time in between that, or is that how light came to be? Not sure. All right, let's go back to the notes. Does this have any merit to anyone? So let's put 1 through 4 together. Primarily, God makes air over dirt. Dirt is useless. Deep ocean has gloom over it. God's Spirit loves from above the water. Light spoken into existence. God sees light as good and divides light and the gloomy over ocean darkness. Or, originally, God makes air over fruitless dirt. Gloom dark is over the deep ocean. God's Spirit is nicely over the water. Light is spoken into being. God sees light as good, divides light from the dark gloom. Can it be air and dark both over land and deep sea? I wasn't sure about that. So let's try this. Originally, God makes gloomy dark air over ocean and over dead dirt. God's Spirit hovers over water as opposed to deep ocean. Light arrives by God's speech. God sees light as good. Did someone hop in? What did I just hear? No. Heard a noise. Anyway. God sees light as good. God divides light from dark. Or, man, what is beeping? I gotta figure this out. I'm getting an alert from some app. God made dark air over dirt. God's Spirit loves being over water. Light spoken in and seen as good by God. Light divided from dark. God made dark air over dirt. God's Spirit loves being over the water. Light spoken in, seen as good by God, and is not where dark is. Or, God made dark air over dirt and deep sea. God's Spirit over non-deep sea water, good light spoken into some places. I tried a few more versions. God made dark air over dirt and sea. God's Spirit likes to be nice to the coasts and rivers from above. Good light spoken into over some of dirt and sea. Or, God formed air over dirt and sea. God's Spirit hangs out over shallow waters. Good light spoken in over half the dirt and sea. The bulk of what you see when you explore the world is formed by God. He hangs out over water. He spoke good light into half the air. Air and dirt formed by God. God chills over the shallow water. He speaks in good daylight as opposed to dark. Let's go to verse 5. What is beeping? Something. Who knows? You can't hear it, I hope. Hopefully. All right, let's go to, maybe it's Facebook. Is Facebook beeping me? I'm not knowing. Let's go to verse 5. 1, 5. Vayikra Elohim laor yom va lahosek kara la yela wahi ereb wahi boker yom echad. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to pronounce that or not. Vayikra Elohim laor yom va lahosek kara layala wehi ereb wehi bokare yom elad. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and there was evening, and there was morning, one day. So here's a different word. So remember, he arammed light into existence. Now he's calling or proclaiming or reading kara. 7121. Let's read 7121. To proclaim, to read. The other word was a little proclaimy, but this one's a little stronger, like a herald, a little bit. Not much. And then Yom, that's day. You know Yom Kippur, right? Like, let's try this. Just means day. Like, is in the sense of like what we call a day. Today, a day. And night is pretty much Layla. Check out night. I thought of the Eric Clapton song. Got me up, blah, blah, Layla, ba-dum, boom. So we got night, but there's also a word for evening. So that's night. The dark part of night, right? Like the midnight part of night. Evening is 6153. So now you've got evening, or the onset, Arab. So that's where the sun starts to shift, right? Then you got morning, 1242. Bakar, daybreak. So the start of the day. So the start of the night, start of the day. 1. Echad. Look at that word, and then we'll put this all together. 259. That Discord noise is tasking me. All right. Echad. Let's look and see what that means. One. What kind of one? Alone, singular. First. Took one of his ribs. The name of the first, Bishan. Become like one of us. The 10th month on the first day in the first year. Same, like unitary. They are one people. They have the same language. So it's kind of like our word one, identity. All one thing. A certain one man. It's not really jumping out at me right now as being very county. But maybe. Let's put it all together. God named light day, dark night, was evening, was morning, day one. So existed evening, existed morning. So like it says was morning, right? The word for was there. Let's go back to here. There was evening, there was morning, day one. Or the first. That's a good way to put it. Day one. So light and day are different to us, but God says day is the actual name of light. Like he calls the light day. We think of light other ways, maybe since Thomas Edison or candles, I don't know. But your name and you go together really well. So if light is going to be called day, that's kind of an important deal. So let's look at what we have. We have air and dirt formed by God. God chills over, I'm convinced, the shallow waters, right? God chills over the shallow waters. He speaks in good daylight as opposed to dark. I'm not saying dark is bad, just saying he calls the daylight good. God named light day, dark night, was eve, was morn, day one. Or, God made air and dirt. God chills over the water. He spoke in daylight, called it day. Dark night, divided away. The borders of the division mark out day one. God makes air, dirt, chills over the shallows, spoke light, named it day, named dark night. Evening, morning equals day one. That's the text to me. So our study today concludes essentially this. God makes air, dirt, chills over the shallows, speaks light, names it day, names dark night, evening, morning equals day one. That's about all I have. A little hour of hanging out, talking about the Bible. Now we can do whatever we want. Let me check and see what's happening around the horn. We got some lurkies. What do we want to do? Kind of want to turn off YouTube because YouTube, they gave me a warning. I want to turn off Facebook too. Let me start by that. Bye-bye YouTube. Love you. Sorry, but